It's not really about the fact that PancakeSwap is still number one on BSC. We do believe that users will gradually onboard onto the L2s and maybe even the L3s. PancakeSwap is going on to L2s where we think they have a good shot at onboarding all the next wave of users and the next wave of projects.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Edge Podcast. I'm DeFi Dad, and I'm here with my colleague and co-host from Fourth Revolution Capital, Nomadic. In this episode, we'll spotlight one of the top protocols in DeFi trading volume, PancakeSwap, which is ranked number 2 in collective trading volume, cross-chain across its trading apps. Launched in 2020, originally as a fork of Uniswap V2, PancakeSwap has evolved into much more as an all-in-one DeFi super app with an AMM, concentrated LPs, farming, liquid staking, trading competitions, no-loss lotteries, perps trading, initial farm offerings, and even a Web3 game called Pancake Protectors. Today we'll be joined by the pseudonymous lead behind PancakeSwap and discuss why this is a major DeFi multi-chain protocol to get reacquainted with as they're building to onboard the next generation of crypto users this upcoming bull market. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsors who make the Edge podcast possible. Whether you're a trader, farmer, analyst, or newbie, you can trade smart with KyberSwap, the OG decentralized exchange and aggregator on 13 chains. Swap at the best rates, farm with real yields, set limit orders, use their proprietary trading and AI tools with the best UX in DeFi, securely and permissionlessly. Get better rates, better opportunities, better alpha, and a better trading experience. Trade smart now at kyberswap.com.
Hey everyone, my name is Kaito. I'm a co-founder at Utopia Labs, and today we're really excited to be announcing and launching a feature called USDC bank transfers. We're basically allowing for any company based anywhere in the world to be able to send USDC to any US bank account, whether that US bank account is a US citizen or a person who might have something as simple as a Wise account. If we zoom out since a year ago, there's been a chokehold on kind of the interoperability and seamlessness between traditional rails and crypto rails. We put a lot of time and effort into this to be able to provide a smooth end experience for you as a consumer or as a company using crypto and using traditional financial rails.
It all started so simply with CryptoKitties and Maker on Ethereum, but quickly became complex with more applications and many chains. Today, everyone agrees UX issues are the biggest blocker standing in the way of crypto adoption. Introducing Avocado. Multi-chain UX redesigned from the ground up. The first wallet to abstract networks, accounts, and gas. One gas tank to pay transaction fees on all chains in USDC. And native access to Instadapp's powerful, custom DeFi strategies. Avocado, one wallet to rule all chains.
All right, in just a moment, we'll introduce Chef Mochi, who is the pseudonymous lead of PancakeSwap protocol, one of the top multi-chain DeFi protocols. Prior to the launch of PancakeSwap in 2020, Mochi had dove headfirst into many new protocols that had sprung up over the years in his personal time before making the switch over to working full-time on PancakeSwap. So, Chef Mochi, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Edge Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And yeah, thanks for the introduction, DeFi Dad. Very pleased to be here and to share the journey with everyone.
So we were just catching up a few minutes here before we got started, and it's funny to think back. It's almost 3 years ago exactly that PancakeSwap was launching. We had lived through this very exciting DeFi summer. I'll say that at the time, I personally did not see DeFi extending beyond Ethereum mainnet. But that was just, I think, my limited perspective, given the fact that I had been using Ethereum mostly in like 2019 and again, early 2020, as DeFi was starting to pick up speed and improve this product market fit. And so along comes PancakeSwap, which was very familiar for many of us instantly, knowing the makeup of the user journey on something like Uniswap. Since then, PancakeSwap has differentiated so much with different DeFi products, which is kind of the reason I referred to this as like an all-in-one DeFi protocol. It's no longer just a DEX or AMM protocol. So before we dig into PancakeSwap in 2023, would you mind just telling us a little bit more about your journey in crypto and I guess like what led to you ultimately designing and launching the protocol that is PancakeSwap?
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for the question. So for me personally, I first came across crypto back in the previous bull cycle, and it was mostly through friends and colleagues that were working for, these protocols no longer exist, but they were the earliest versions of today's payment protocols that were, completely on-chain. So think, the kind of early credit cards that tried to launch in the space in the previous cycle. So back then, I was still working back in traditional finance in the Web2 world. However, having that experience, and looking at what other people were working on, I soon realized that there was a huge opportunity to build a better version of traditional finance systems within the growing DeFi ecosystem then. And, like you mentioned, I spent quite a lot of, personal time trying different protocols, seeing what these guys were doing. And after becoming familiar with the ideas that were being implemented and what, became DeFi Summer, I really, got very interested into crypto. And at a certain point, I decided, okay, I'm coming over to work on this as well. So I left traditional finance, and my entry to crypto was, there was quite a few different things I worked on. But mostly the roles that I worked on were aligned with my personal interest. It was to try and understand and build crypto products. And so, so many things have changed over the years. And fast forward a few years for me personally, I'm now here leading the PancakeSwap team with our vision to, like you say, become an all-in-one multi-chain DeFi protocol.
Shortly after DeFi Summer, there were these, wild times that we were living in like the middle of a bull run. I don't think any of us quite understood that yet, that we would like continue that into 2021. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you recall about those times launching PancakeSwap? BSC was still newer in terms of the traction it was seeing with DeFi protocols. And, it was a time where there was an explosive amount of growth, and PancakeSwap was at the epicenter of all of that. So if you can just take us back to some of the highlights that you remember from that time.
Sure thing. I think back in DeFi Summer, it was really exciting. And like you said, I don't think any of us really knew what was really happening at the point of time where all the tokens were, just coming out, and it was a really exciting time. So at the outset, I think, at DeFi Summer and where PancakeSwap started as a fork of Uniswap, at that point of time, I think it was a really exciting time where DeFi seemed really new, and tokenization of these protocols seemed something that was very fresh and seemed to be a new way to capture or create value on the blockchain. And PancakeSwap, maybe I'll just talk about PancakeSwap first and go back to DeFi Summer in general later. For PancakeSwap, I think we grew quickly as well. Mostly because BSC then was the first alternate L1 chain to be able to offer DeFi services on low gas fees, which clearly resonated with a lot of users back in the time then when transacting on Ethereum would have costed you, on the low end, at least $10 to do anything. And, with DeFi, you have to work through multiple transactions in order to get something done. So completing, something like a swap might have costed you $30 to $50, which was really expensive, and it still is today, by most blockchain standards. But going back to DeFi Summer, despite the high gas fees that everyone saw on Ethereum, I think we all saw a lot of potential and also experimentation go on. that was the period where all your blue chip DeFi protocols today were releasing tokens, and TVL was really building up, and use cases were starting to be created every couple of weeks, every couple of months. And so I think now looking back at DeFi summer, protocols on Ethereum were really just hitting the mark in terms of developing newer features for what today would be considered, I think, basic functionality for any DEX, any lending protocol, any yield maximization, optimizer protocols. And BSC at that point, I think, was and PancakeSwap was at the point of just at the start of the curve of picking up lots of newer, fairly retail users. And so I think going back then, it was a really exciting time hopefully, it's not the last time we see something like this for the DeFi sector in general.
Yeah, I hope it's not the last time as well. So with that selection of BSC, was there any other L1s or chains at the time that you were considering? There wasn't a lot available at the time, but you kind of laid out their case and the reason why. Fees were spiking on Ethereum, but I don't even recall what other options were out there. Was there anything else you were looking at as far as where to launch?
In terms of where to launch, no, we were really looking just at BSC. There were other chains available, but the unique thing about BSC back then was, and if you recall, this was the time that centralized exchanges really came into form, right? At that point, you didn't have Coinbase being such a household name. So, but centralized exchanges really became the largest part of our industry. And having Binance.com promoting BSC and onboarding a lot of new users onto BSC was something that was very unique at that point of time. And so BSC, aside from having low gas fees, the other thing was it was EVM compatible, which meant that a lot of things that were building on Ethereum could quickly go over to BSC if they wanted to. And also there was a confluence of a lot of users that were being onboarded for the very first time and going directly onto BSC as their first chain due to the direction that the centralized exchange was going. So that was a very unique set of factors back in the time. And so we weren't really looking for any other options there because it was so unique what BSC had then.
Mochi, before we talk more about the suite of DeFi products that PancakeSwap offers, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the appetite for Ethereum L2s? And this is the appetite among builders and users today. I want to just bluntly call out the fact that while we're excited for these L2s, they're going through a transition where they launch and they're very centralized. And I would argue that, there were criticisms of alternative L1s, which were still EVM compatible like BSC. And there's lots of other variables to consider here. But I have at times, been conflicted as I've thought about the fact that we have lots of money rushing into new Ethereum L2s. And I think there's probably going to be a rush of L2s that will eventually turn into ghost towns. And then meanwhile, there were other factors to this, but there was quite a bit of criticism around BSC when PancakeSwap had launched. So, to give credit to the PancakeSwap protocol, you all have recently launched you launched first on Ethereum mainnet, and then you've launched on zkSync Era, I think Polygon ZK EVM, and I might be missing, I thought Linea, you're still on testnet, but you're clearly going there. So what prompts that move? And I guess what changed enough for PancakeSwap to move from that home base where you still are, I think, number one in terms of trade volume on BSC?
Sure. Let me start with, I think, the general thoughts on L2s. And I think the question about centralized sequences when I guess now they still are, centralized. So I do think, despite the fact that L2s are launched in a way that is centralized today, that it is not the fault of L2s that is going this way. I think the benchmark that we are measuring against Ethereum is one that's a very special case. So I think Ethereum started when blockchains and EV and programmable applications on blockchains were not a proven concept. And so Ethereum had the luxury of time to develop an L1 gradually over time, where the initial ICO participants of Ethereum could, I guess you can say, sell their banks out to a wider variety of holders. Thereby, when Ethereum and decentralized applications were no longer a fringe concept, at the point of time where we were looking at it, it was, relatively speaking, decentralized. And subsequent L1s that came up, and now to your question about the L2s as well, these are a bit different. So today, everyone knows that if you have a chain that has a significant ecosystem, then your chain is more likely, as you put it, not likely to be a ghost town. And so there is a speed to market factor that a lot of L2s are, they have to deal with, because if they are not launching fast, if they're not growing their ecosystem fast, then they may not be able to pick up adoption. And some other L2s that are willing to go the more centralized route might be able to do so first, and then deal with decentralization later. So I do think it's kind of a natural evolution of the fact that L2 chains are clearly the next wave of, I guess, growth for processing transactions. So since this is such a clear need, then there are teams out there that really want to get ahead of the game and be developed. And so a lot of these, you don't have the time to decentralize your token holder base before you become mainstream. So therefore, they have chosen to run on at least initially a centralized set of parameters. And so for PancakeSwap, we know this because DEXs are also a very competitive space. DeFi is, generally speaking, if we are talking about established products, very competitive as well. So we do understand where these L2s are coming from. And therefore, for PancakeSwap, partially why we are, I guess it's not so much of a concern that some of these L2s that we are moving to are centralized, is because we do recognize the market force, the market pressures that they're under, and why they have taken, the direction that they have. And we do think that gradual decentralization in the future, however these L2s decide to distribute their tokens, can be done. And so we are not so worried about how this will eventually play out. We do think that they will become decentralized over time as well, just as Ethereum has done. And so for PancakeSwap, it's not really about the fact that PancakeSwap is still number one on BSC. We do believe that users will gradually onboard onto the L2s and maybe even the L3s, right? Some of the protocols are actually building L3s that will help L2s scale better. So we do think that that users and projects will go to L2s eventually, and so they have a good head start. PancakeSwap is going on to L2s where we think they have a good shot at onboarding all the next wave of users and the next wave of projects.
Given what you were sharing, there is a path to something like BSC becoming a true Ethereum L2. And I know you can't speak on behalf of BSC, but just given the presence that PancakeSwap has on BSC, given the fact that, when we think of BSC, I think all of us as users think of PancakeSwap. It's a pretty remarkable branding exercise that you've executed on there. And so, yeah, could you foresee that happening? I guess, do you have any thoughts on whether that could be a good path for BSC in terms of continuing to grow the DeFi ecosystem that it has today?
So the question is about BSC decentralizing and growing the ecosystem.
Let's say there's a path to BSC, which there is. BSC could, I think, like become a true Ethereum L2, kind of like what we're seeing with Polygon. I think Polygon is a pretty good example of it was always considered an L2 and by some not, but then the Polygon zkEVM is, by everyone's sort of agreed upon standards for what an Ethereum L2 is. It looks like, so that's Polygon zkEVM. There's also Celo, CELO, that was an EVM compatible L1, very similar to BSC. So I'm not sure if you would have been aware of this, but like let's just say that BSC could convert into a zkEVM of Ethereum. Could you see a path forward like that? Because I still see these different L1s and L2s as like different blockchain cities, and they all have like their own culture. They have different users. They have different preferred types of applications, and I'm just thinking about how those continue to merge in the future, and so yeah, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on something like a BSC becoming a zkEVM.
From a technical perspective, there is no issue with BSC or its subsequent next generation L2s. As you might know, the BSC ecosystem now has its own zk rollup and its own optimistic rollup as well as the L2s. So technically speaking, there's no reason why BSC couldn't, be effectively a L2 rollup for Ethereum. Practically speaking, I do think that there are different approaches to chain building. Of course, I can't speak for the BSC or the BNB chain team, but I do think scaling in the future doesn't actually look like which L2 you're building on. This is my personal view on this. We work a lot with bridge providers such as Stargate, such as Stellar, and from what we can see, and maybe this is just my personal thoughts, I do think that scaling in the future would look like L2s for all kinds of different L1s where users don't actually know which L1 that they are scaling on. Because nowadays, bridges sort of act as like a messaging protocol that is chain agnostic. And so if you are working on a Ethereum L2 versus you're working on a BSC L2, you wouldn't really know where your transactions are being confirmed on the L1. And to be honest, I think most users, when we are scaling towards mass adoption, aren't really concerned about whether your transaction is being posted to BSC L1 or Ethereum L1. So I think the future of scaling for L2s, at least in terms of the public narrative, would just simply be that L2s are scaling L1s, not L2s are scaling, in particular, Ethereum L1.
The TLDR on this is users won't end up caring in the future as long as they know that they can securely transact, as long as they can transact for a competitively low amount of gas, which I think we're going to get to a point where even just the discussion around gas and transaction speed, that's something that we as like DeFi OGs will talk about. Oh, remember when you used to have to figure out how to bridge, between an L1 and an L2. And that's exciting. To me, like that's mainstream adoption where they can just focus on the fact that they love using the PancakeSwap branded DEX and they like all of the different tools and games and products that you offer. So
yeah, let's dive into the PancakeSwap platform a little bit. I was checking out the UI more recently for this, and I was just kind of struck with how many different offerings there is on the platform. So I've got the UI pulled up right now, and just scanning across the headings on the top, I see trade, I see earn, win, NFT, game, and then under each of these, there's a ton of different like drop-down subheadings. There's just a ton of different things going on. Can you break some of this down for us, Mochi?
Sure. Let me walk through this on a high level, just to keep things brief. If you are particularly interested in any of these, we can talk about these on a deeper level. So let's go through in sequence. At the top left, there is trade. So trade is the section that covers most of our trading and liquidity related products. So this is where the original PancakeSwap V2 or recent upgraded V3, as well as some of our future trading add-ons will sit. So if you are a user, you're coming to this trade section mostly to trade tokens. So just briefly, swap is part of the core exchange where you're really just buying and selling tokens. So if you want to buy BNB, you want to sell Bitcoin, this is where you go to. Perpetual is our leveraged trading product. So if you are, as a user, looking to trade on leverage to magnify your gains, then you come here to gain access to a wide array of tokens that you can have a good amount of leverage on. Bridge is our integration to other chains. So as I mentioned to you, I do think users over time will go to different chains and bridges are in fact getting better. And so we do have a native integration for a lot of these bridges. And there's a special focus on helping users use PancakeSwap across a wide variety of blockchains that we are expanding into. And lastly, a recent new feature that we've done, Buy Crypto, it really refers to our integration on the fiat end. And so if you're looking to buy a token on PancakeSwap to come onto the blockchain with a credit card, you can do it very quickly, and you can bypass the need to go through an exchange to switch your fiat to a coin and get yourself onto the blockchain. So that makes it really easy. The next section, the earn section, is where users come to earn yield broadly. So PancakeSwap provides a number of ways to earn yield on your different types of assets. For starters, you could deposit assets into PancakeSwap's liquidity pools for traders to trade. And so therefore, that's one way for you to generate trading fees from the activities that happen on PancakeSwap. We also give cake token rewards to help you increase your gains there, and that's where you find farms on that drop-down menu. If you would like to do single staking, there's staking cake on the pools, where the platform then provides you an opportunity to earn some free tokens from other protocols that have partnered with PancakeSwap. And these protocols are interested for you to try their protocol, which is why as you stake here, you earn some of these tokens, then you can try the protocol with the tokens that you've earned. And lastly, one of our recent product releases is if you're looking to stake your ETH in validator nodes, then PancakeSwap has a integration that allows you to stake your ETH in a single-sided manner to earn validator rewards, and that's where you go to the liquid staking feature. The next section, I think I'll merge win and gain together. So this section is mostly targeted to users who are looking to have some fun. So as you know, the previous section is very heavily traditional DeFi, but the thing is, we do think that as part of a user experience, users should be able to have some fun on your platform as well. And so we have different sort of games where users can use their cake tokens. And in all of these, users may be able to win some cake while they are playing. So there's a bit of an earn element, and then there's the fun element. And so we do think that this creates a part of PancakeSwap where people can come to for something less serious, and is in line with our branding. And so that's what mostly the win and gain sections are for.
There's just so many products. I actually totally missed the fact that there's liquid staking as well. The bridge, as much as I think many users at this point are getting to know bridge aggregators, it makes so much sense to just have that built into the app. And I see it's powered here by Layer 0. There's so much here. So I think of all the different products, one of them I wanted to narrow in on that I thought was relatively newer is the perps trading. And with the perps trading, I'm just wondering if you can share, what you've seen are the most popular pairs, what sort of patterns you're seeing in terms of trade volume. That trade volume tends to reflect how bullish or bearish the market is. It's been a little bit bearish for a few months now, so we've seen trade volume everywhere dropping, on chain and off chain. But yeah, any takeaways or insights, reflection to give on having launched this new on-chain perps trading?
In terms of most popular pairs, I believe that on a day-to-day basis, if we're looking at a longer term, today the most popular pairs are still Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think there is appetite for trading smaller altcoins, but to be honest, in order to get that kind of gains that you're looking, and you don't have to do leverage to get those type of volatility. Altcoins generally can provide you the kind of volatility even without perp trading or leverage trading. And so the kind of pairs that are most popular still happen to be your mainstream tokens, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And as to volumes, perps, I would say it's a kind of magnified market of the spot market. So it tends to also get a lot of volume during, maybe crisis-driven events, or when there's something happening, right? Mostly because, first, the volumes on a perp they do measure the leveraged volume, and so an individual can actually generate a lot of volume just by himself. But a lot of perp trading would either be on speculative events where people want to get a short an exposure that's short in terms of time but high in terms of notional value, or you're looking as maybe as an on-chain trader to close certain arbitrage opportunities. And so a lot of the times volumes do peak when there is a certain event that's happening. So those are our observations on the perp products.
I should know this already, but Mochi, can you talk about the design of the perps trading product? Like, I think my main concern or question is, who is the counterparty? Is this like a multi-asset pool, the way that GMX V1 has been set up?
So there are two versions of the perps that is on PancakeSwap. So we call them V1 and V2. V2 is the more popular one. So let me just dive deeper into V2. So V2 is, I think in your words, is closer to a GMX type of product, whereby there is the counterparty on the trade is a pool of liquidity that users are providing. And so this is actually a collaboration with another protocol called Apollo X on BSC. And so how it works is that we are all contributing to a single pool called ALP, where users who are providing liquidity, they're all getting ALP tokens. And so as traders are trading against ALP, if you are a trader and you're winning, then ALP is paying out the capital to you. And if you are in a particular trade you're not making money, then the money goes back to ALP. So it's a structure that's fairly similar to GMX, but the underlying tokens is very much more skewed towards stable coins. There are some other tokens in there, but the design is a little bit different from GMX, where you have a lot of ETH in most of the pool. In our version, there's mostly stable coins that is the kind of base of the pool.
One thing you said earlier was this whole gamified side of the platform. I think that's really smart. Like, the DeFi side can sometimes some of that can seem boring to certain people. And like, how do you grab the attention of or cast a broader net? And it's on the game side. Like, I'm very curious, Is that a game that was built in-house by the PancakeSwap team, or is that like a third-party developer that said, hey, look, we want to build a game, have it on your platform, use the Cake token? And then I'm also curious if there's any other game developers or studios like coming to you now that they've seen this and want to build something utilizing the Cake token.
So on the game, it's not so we didn't build the game from scratch. That was a collaboration with a third party called Mobox. So the background to the game is that we wanted to develop a game, or rather we wanted a game on PancakeSwap. But many of the chefs in PancakeSwap were gamers, and we know how hard it is to build a game. We've seen a lot of relatively lower quality games last year when GameFi was really on fire, and we do know that a lot of these games won't last. So we were not looking for one of those type of play to earn games where a lot of tokens were coming out, and the game themselves weren't that fun. As I mentioned to you, we wanted to provide a more casual, fun experience. So we were looking for a well-developed game, and it takes too long. And to be honest, for a DeFi team like us, it's too difficult to build a solid game. And so we partnered with an established game developer with a lot of changes in the game that we specifically requested for. So to go into some depth, as we spent quite a lot of effort on this, and I think a lot of people would find this interesting. We had to start off, Pancake Protectors, the game, is a tower defense style game. So if your users are familiar with that, it's usually there's a map, and then you have characters or heroes, and then you're planting them on the spots, and you're just trying to defend your little base against all the monsters that come through. So what we've done in the game is we've incorporated our NFTs as well as our Cake token into the game. So aside from using Cake as an asset that you can buy characters with and upgrade them, and also you can stake them for resources in the game as well. Another thing we did, which we thought was really fun, was you could use your NFTs in the game to change the abilities of the towers or the characters that you were putting into the game. So we have two NFT series, and each of these, every single NFT had a slightly different ability. And so the game itself also has single player and multiplayer elements. So if you think about it, if you're playing on multiplayer with a bunch of different PancakeSwap users, and then each of you had your own NFTs, you could really have almost a infinite permutation of the kind of power defense setup that you could do, because there were so many NFTs available and so many holders. And so the game was designed in conjunction with a third party to provide a very differentiated experience that is specific to PancakeSwap users and PancakeSwap NFT holders. And so that's how it was done.
I got one quick follow up to that. So I'm curious with kind of like what you're seeing on this gamified side. Is this like an area you're getting traction in? So on this like lottery side, on the gaming side, is this something that you would like lean into and like double down on, or like is it becoming kind of like a new core product for PancakeSwap?
Sure. I think this is still something that we are exploring. So to your earlier question, I forgot to cover. There are now gaming only or gaming specialists that are coming to PancakeSwap on the back of the success of the Pancake Protectors game. So to give you some stats, right? As of today, we have about 24,000 daily active users on the game, which I think in the face of the bear market is relatively decent. And I think a lot of gaming studios and gaming chains have noticed that a DeFi protocol was able to garner a user base that's regularly playing the game, despite the fact that there are no tokens minted to kind of drive the adoption of the game. And so we are also pleasantly surprised by the outcome. And so we are exploring ways in which we can grow this in a way that is suited to PancakeSwap as a DeFi protocol. I think today the branding of PancakeSwap's and most of the our work is around DeFi. So if this succeeds, we do want to grow this as something that's a little bit different. But as of now, we're still trying to figure out what is the best way to grow this. For example, it's not easy to manage a gaming community. These are very passionate people as well. And to be honest, we aren't. We're pretty busy building the DeFi project, so we aren't really able to get into the weeds of the game that much. So it's not that easy for a team like PancakeSwap to handle, a full-fledged gaming experience. And so it's something that we're still exploring. But we do see that there is quite a good fit between PancakeSwap users and games, which we would like to continue exploring.
Mochi, I want to talk a few minutes about PancakeSwap V3 because this recording, this podcast, this is happening in early August 2023. But you launched V3, it looks like it was back in early April. And I wanted to let you kind of call out some of the new differentiating features. I'm just reading directly from the blog post, but there's some highlights here for users to check out. So these are some of the highlights of PancakeSwap V3. Up to 25x lower trading fees for traders as compared to V2. Many times more fee earnings with the same amount of deposits for LPs, up to 4,000x higher capital efficiency, allowing you to earn with ease and watch your profits soar. A new V3 VIP trading rewards program, that one said coming soon, and then a position manager feature coming soon. One of the things that stuck out for me, and you'll have to correct me, did V2 have concentrated LPs or is it V3 that was the start of this? And then if so, just what can you share about trading volume since then or any sort of like user feedback? We know from Uniswap V3 just the crazy increase of capital efficiency. And so I'm imagining this has been hugely beneficial to PancakeSwap users.
Yeah, so for V3, this was the first iteration of concentrated liquidity on PancakeSwap. So V2 did not have any concentrated liquidity features. And volumes on V3, as you've alluded to, are very competitive. And this is partially because fees on established tokens are at the lowest it's ever been. And so, PancakeSwap is an attractive venue, both with deep liquidity and low fees for traders who are looking to buy, let's say, BNB, stablecoins, Ethereum, Bitcoin, all the tokens that we all know and love. So volumes have been, doing pretty well, and we are looking to build on that, as much as possible in terms of expanding to other chains and also the ecosystem of products that will support the V3. So as you mentioned there as well, we had a VIP trading program that has actually been released. So that is a way for traders with significant volume to rebate some of the fees that they have paid to PancakeSwap. As a way of a thank you for contributing to the execution of PancakeSwap. And the position manager is one that we are also building in conjunction with third-party partners. And that is, I think, to the point about user experience, which you asked. So V3 is a better product, but it's also one that's more sophisticated. It is not as easy as V2 because there are more things to think about as a liquidity provider when you go on to V3, even though that potentially magnifies your returns. And so one of the things that we want to do, PancakeSwap is very retail focused and it's very UX focused. And so what we want to be able to do is to let users that don't have so much time to manage their liquidity on V3 to have ways to manage it in a semi-automated manner. Of course, V3 being fully automated is somewhat challenging. I don't think it's the optimal way to deal with liquidity on V3. But what we can do is there are certain things that can be automated, and there are certain interesting strategies that actually there are newer ones in the market as compared to what there was last year. And we are focusing on providing both what people are used to in terms of position management on other chains, but we also want to introduce some newer partners that we see have more interesting approaches, and we are leaving it all up to the users to decide what kind of liquidity management that would suit them the best.
Mochi, just one quick follow-up to that. Have you checked out Maverick Protocol? Because we had them on the podcast not too long ago, and I'm not sure if Bob from Maverick ever said that, trying to manage these more concentrated LPs would be just really difficult, but you could tell he was sort of indicating that there's limitations to what you can do in that automation. I think we've all had our moment of hope and optimism that someone could solve for this, but I've always thought, unless you know where the price is going, you can't fully automate that. However, for those of us who maybe want to bet on the price moving down, moving up, staying within really tight ranges, I think of Maverick. I also think of Trader Joe has done some really interesting and innovative work around designing and shaping those LPs. So anyways, I almost mean to say I can imagine where you're going, because there's some really good ideas that are starting to become more concrete. But anyways, do you have any other thoughts on what that position manager might look like, or what sorts of principles it might play into?
Sure. Different position managers will deal with different difficulties of providing liquidity. So like you mentioned, with Maverick, I'm familiar with the structure that they have, and that it's a particular strategy that has been implemented that is suited to kind of, I would call, more stable paired assets. And so it might not necessarily then work as well for volatile pairs. Let's say if you're doing ETH against a stable coin. And so what we have tried to do is, if you want a strategy that just keeps you earning fees from traders all the time, that is, your more, I would say, vanilla way of just moving your liquidity to always be in line with market prices as they change. There are other ways. For example, I will share just briefly what these might look like. I think I'll encourage users and yourself to take a look when it's actually out. There are ways to provide liquidity that allows you to earn in the token that you want to earn. So for example, in most liquidity pairs, there are two tokens, right? You provide liquidity in a pair. But with V3, there are ways in which you can provide and keep a liquidity mostly in one token. And so if you are, let's say, very bullish on Ethereum, you could provide in a liquidity pool that has an ETH pairing with something else, but provide the liquidity in a manner that's always mostly ETH, then you're compounding your fees into ETH. There are other ways. For example, there is a partner that will come up that manages liquidity by actually taking out of the liquidity pool sometimes to avoid impermanent loss. And so that's another problem that liquidity pools do suffer from, which is if you are a user and you provided it at the kind of wrong time, or you haven't provided it for the correct period of time, then you suffer a relatively high amount of impermanent loss. And there are position managers that are looking to manage that by, with certain principles as well. And so PancakeSwap's position manager will try to incorporate all the different styles that are of position management. Both, as I mentioned, they are already more vanilla or coming up. And for ourselves, we will also try to tack on some of the easier functions, like just compounding your fees, so that you don't have to spend the gas to claim the fees when you have earned them and then put them back to compound your liquidity position. So all in all, it's this kind of platform that has a lot of different approaches where users can choose what approach works for them.
Mochi, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, and in just doing some research for this, I saw that PancakeSwap launched a revenue sharing program. Maybe tell us a bit how that works. I feel like anybody holding the Cake token would really want to know what's going on with this. Yeah, anything more you can share and expand would be great.
Sure. I'd like to share a bit of the background behind the revenue sharing program. So the revenue sharing program actually came out of a community vote at the end of April, where PancakeSwap was voting on the transition away from a hyperinflationary model. So what I mean by a hyperinflationary model is prior to the April vote, if you provided liquidity on PancakeSwap, you will earn a significant amount of cake tokens. But what that meant on the protocol level is that there are a lot of cake tokens being created with time. So every year, the supply of cake tokens is increasing very significantly. And so what we were voting on in April was to pivot away from this model where we were giving away a lot of tokens for the use of or the provision of liquidity or staking on PancakeSwap. And so in replacement of inflationary rewards where the protocol is just giving you cake tokens, PancakeSwap was going to transition to a more organic style of growth where users who are holding cake tokens are going to be earning alongside the platform. And so the platform itself generates quite a bit of revenue from the various different products that we have. And so we wanted to tie the growth of the token together with the organic growth that the protocol is experiencing as we're going multi-chain, as we continue to grow on BSC. And so the revenue sharing program, is a part of this broader change in PancakeSwap. So specifically to the revenue sharing program, how it works is quite simple. If you are staking cake on PancakeSwap, you would just by this action alone be entitled to revenue sharing from the PancakeSwap protocol. And a significant amount of the revenue that's left after paying the liquidity providers for their liquidity is provided to cake stakers. And so that's mostly coming out of the V3 protocol, which is dealing with most of the volumes on PancakeSwap nowadays. And so you simply just have to stake, and periodically we will be passing on the protocol's returns to a contract where users could just claim if they want to, and if they don't feel like claiming right now, it just accumulates over time, and you can claim anytime. And so with the revenue sharing program, you are participating in PancakeSwap in a manner where you will see that PancakeSwap's tokens are no longer increasing in the market. And in fact, we are targeting for PancakeSwap to be deflationary by the end of this year. And we are currently on track to do so. In the last 3 months, the PancakeSwap total supply, the cake total supply has effectively been flat, even though we are still in the midst of cutting rewards. So as a participant in the revenue sharing program, you will be a part of a pool of token holders where the token supply is actually also shrinking while you are getting revenue from the protocol. So that's kind of on a high level how this works.
Yeah, and just at a high level, I mean, if I'm a cake token holder, I think that all sounds very attractive. Getting away from kind of that inflationary source of yield and coming back to something that's as close to real yield as you can get, really. So one other question that just comes to mind is, I've seen kind of this perpetual discussion play out in the Uniswap world about we're going to turn on the fee switch and value accrual. But a question that commonly comes up is like, okay, well, where are we going to take that away from to give to the token holder? Are we going to take away from, some of the profitability of the LPs to pass through to the token holders? You kind of mentioned it there, but I just want to make sure we're clear. Like, are you taking yield that would go somewhere else and kind of redelegating that to the cake token, or where exactly does it come from?
PancakeSwap's model is actually a bit different from Uniswap. So if you look at Uniswap, they are a pure AMM. Excuse me. They are a pure decentralized exchange platform whereby the only source of fees being generated within the Uniswap ecosystem is the fees that are generated from swaps. For PancakeSwap, the protocol sources of revenue is a lot more diverse. And so we are able to pull revenue from different products in order to balance the kind of inflation and revenue sharing that we have on our protocol. So to answer your question, currently there is a part. So PancakeSwap doesn't do 100% fee sharing with LPs. We have less of it. A portion comes to the protocol both to burn the cake that is going on to the market, and also a part of it is coming to the protocol to fund developments, for PancakeSwap in the future. But we are also taking most of our other revenue to Cake in the sense of we are, most of the revenue just goes directly back to buying Cake in the open market and burning those. And as our inflationary model kind of comes to an end in November, we will look at the data again. And if it's possible for us to reduce the amount of revenue that's directed towards Cake burning. So the kind of basic model is we emit some Cake as rewards. And so users, while they are not getting the full 100% on the LPs, they are getting another source of rewards in the Cake token. But if we come to the end of the inflationary model and we see that a lot of the revenue no longer needs to be dedicated to buying back the Cake that's given out, we can actually share it more with the revenue sharing pool, the Cake stakers. And so we can start redirecting revenue that used to be going to buying Cake and burning them and providing them to users. So for PancakeSwap as a protocol, we don't just look at the AMM fees as the only source of revenue that we can share. It's really, I think, a multifaceted bet. If, for example, the game takes off, that's a source of revenue that may potentially be something we can share with users in the future. PancakeSwap has, I think, now just north of 10 products. So any of these that generate revenue for PancakeSwap can be a potential source of revenue sharing for Cake stakers.
Yeah, it's definitely a super app. Actually, do you ever use that term, Mochi? I feel like that's a term that starting to get used more during this crypto bear market. And it's only because of I think it's the maturity of DeFi products that we're at a place now where users aren't going to stop using AMMs like PancakeSwap. And so we're starting to see protocols like PancakeSwap be able to, I think, just offer that much more. Think about how to offer everything in one place so that, the product is that much stickier. You have that many more revenue streams. Actually, as we were, Nomadic and I tend to go back and forth about questions and comments at some point during the interview. And we were just mentioning here offline that it is kind of surprising when you start to think about all the different revenue streams here for Cake holders.
Yeah, we haven't quite got to the point of using the super app name. I think we're still a little bit short of that. I think we are not quite there, but definitely in the future we will think about this, and whether the super app branding is something that will catch on. And if we do, we'll definitely credit you for that.
Super pancakes, super cakes. That could be the new token. This is probably a good place for us to start to wrap up. And I want to give you the last word on, what can we look forward to next in the roadmap for PancakeSwap in the next, 6 to 12 months. I think one huge milestone that you just mentioned was the end of the original emission schedule for Cake. Is that correct? And yeah, anything else here that you can shine a light on, anything that might be alpha for those that are potential PancakeSwap users?
Sure. There are a couple, so let me just go through them quickly. I think first let's revisit the tokenomics portion. So in 3.5 months, this is actually all publicly available in our votes, because the April vote actually set out the entire reduction of Cake reward, that whole schedule of how it will be done. So at the end of November, which is about 3.5 months from now, PancakeSwap will enter almost certainly, I think, a phase of deflation, where the protocol revenues that are going towards buying and burning of HIC tokens will exceed the amount that is being minted. And so I think this is still relatively underappreciated, and it's something I think users should, you don't have to trust me on this. Take a look at the vote. Take a look at the emission dashboards. Those are tracking, on-chain data. You don't have to, trust Mochi on this one. You can look at the data yourself and be sure of that. So that's something that's coming up in 3 months or so. So definitely something I think users should take note of. And then in terms of the development on PancakeSwap, as I kind of mentioned earlier when we first started, PancakeSwap does believe that there is a multi-chain experience there, and that with bridges, with L2s, that the experience is going to be easier, it's going to be more integrated, and users, hopefully by 2 or 3 years time, don't even really care what chain you're on. And therefore, for our focus in the next 6 to 12 months is to build for that future. And so you'll see many of our products go multi-chain in the next 6 to 12 months. So for example, on zkSync, you will start to see that some of the, the gaming, the win products become multi-chain versions of what they are currently, which is a BSC only feature. And so there are so many products and PancakeSwap BSC that we think can be brought to users on other chains. And so we're going to tap on a lot of these cross-chain features that have been developed. It would be on zkSync, it will be on Ethereum, it will be on Polygon zkVM, and all the different chains that will where it's suitable to have these products. So when I say suitable, I mean Ethereum probably stands out in this because the gas fees are still very high. It's quite expensive to play a game on Ethereum right now, so maybe that might not be the best fit. But for otherwise, I think where low gas fees on the other chains are concerned, most of these products don't have an issue. I think moving to another part of PancakeSwap, so we are still very focused on improving the core DEX product. Even though we have launched V3, I would say that the DEX space is really very competitive. We saw that a number of different protocols are pivoting towards I would say that there are a lot of models now being tried out there. We saw Uniswap try out a model where there's hooks, and then there are a number of different protocols that are also integrating centralized models into the decentralized space, where it's now kind of merging. Is that PancakeSwap has its own version of centralized integration. We have a integration called market maker integration, where centralized market makers are able to provide liquidity on certain tokens that PancakeSwap doesn't have, but users don't really actually know that this is coming from a centralized exchange rather than the inland pools. But we do see that there are a lot of different models in this year that are being experimented on, and so PancakeSwap is also looking at its own upgrades to its own V3. And so, in the next 6 to 12 months, we would like to show the community what we have done and what are the things that we believe are necessary for the next iteration of AMMs. And I think the last one thing that PancakeSwap has very close to mind is users. And we do think that where PancakeSwap is at, we need to focus on improving our reach to more users. So while the three of us here today are very crypto native, if you take a step back and you look at crypto as a kind of industry or as an ecosystem, Web3 is really very early. The number of users on chain is actually very, very small. If you compare this to the traditional finance or the traditional gaming, traditional whatever space that we are drawing parallels to. And so we do believe that the largest gains for PancakeSwap is in reaching the next group of Web3 users who will come to crypto when the next bull cycle comes back. And in order to do that, PancakeSwap must become more accessible to Web3 users and provide a better alternative to both centralized exchanges and traditional finance systems. So at the technology level, I do believe that the decentralized manner of running DeFi on blockchains is already better to say how centralized exchanges or banks keep track of traditional transactions. it's safer, it's irreversible, and everything's transparent. But this is not going to be the defining factor in bringing the next wave of users onto DeFi and on PancakeSwap. And we think that as a product category, DeFi is still significantly behind in terms of product and user experience to be in a way that is able to attract the common man on the street. And so in the next 6 to 12 months, we are focused on improving the accessibility of PancakeSwap. So there are some new technologies out there that makes it easier. For example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with account extraction. So that helps users, make it kind of easier for them to come on board wallets. You can have all your gas, your logins managed for you. So it looks a lot more like your traditional login experience. So we've been looking to, use different technologies to make it easier for people to come to PancakeSwap and to use PancakeSwap. And so a lot of this is focused on providing a product that is easy to use, easy to understand, providing a set of services that is accessible to kind of people who are not yet in crypto, so that when the bull market cycle comes back, we have all these tools ready to pick up users, and so then PancakeSwap can pick up steam quickly when the wave comes back.
Well, Mochi, I just want to say thank you so much for spending more time with us today than we planned for. I want to remind listeners that they should go learn more about PancakeSwap at pancakeswap.finance. You'll find the suite of products that we sort of walked through here today. They have a very helpful blog that just has very detailed guides for users who are trying to get started on zkSync to Linea to Aptos. I actually totally forgot to mention that too. That's another chain that PancakeSwap is on. So that's a really helpful place, whether you're a new or old DeFi user. On Twitter, you can follow PancakeSwap. And then Chef Mochi, is your Twitter handle, is it chef_Mochi?
Yes, that is my Twitter handle.
Anything else you'd like to share before we go? And like I said, just a real pleasure to, get the chance to talk with you. I mean, you're one of the very few people on this planet that's built a DeFi protocol that's, ultimately served millions of users now. And just want to call out, like, it's been about 3 years, and it's really impressive. And I think, as Nomadic mentioned earlier, we're kind of awestruck by all the products you're building. So really excited for just all the developments that you mentioned ahead of us in the next year.
Sure. No, thank you very much. And in terms of calling out to users, at this point, I think do keep an eye on PancakeSwap. We are always focused on building. So every quarter, there's a lot of things lined up. I do appreciate that there are a lot of things going on in crypto. Even myself, I sometimes struggle to keep up with what's happening at the other DeFi protocols. But PancakeSwap is focused on building, and I think over time you will see us more and more in I guess what I call your neighborhood, if you're not already on BSC. And so do check us out whichever chain you are on. So and then do take a try at different PancakeSwap products. We have quite a lot of different things as we discussed today. There's definitely something there that we are sure that you will find helpful to you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're a talented founder or developer, please consider reaching out to our team at fourthrevolution.capital. And for future episodes of the Edge podcast, please check out our link tree at edge_pod.